And I'm president of the board of El Museo, and I just wanted to welcome everybody that came tonight. And I got roped into being part of this, and so you'll see a new side of myself if you haven't ever seen it before. But this is a wonderful cast, and I think you'll have a good time, and I just wanted to say welcome to everybody for El Museo. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cecile Lipworth. I'm the Managing Director of V-Day and the producer of 1 Billion Rising here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's a pleasure to welcome you all here this evening on behalf of Liz Randall, who's the writer of this incredible screenplay, and the cast and crew. Please, can you take a minute before I even continue to switch off your cell phones if they're on, or put them on silent or vibrate, so we don't interrupt. Oh wow, everyone did that already. So, once there existed in a place and time a society where women and men were equal in church and state, and men and women treated each other with love and respect. Men supported women, and there was abundance for all. This place was known as Occitania, which is now called Languedoc, on the border of Spain and France. Grace and the Grail, which is an original screenplay that Liz has written, is based on the true history of this time and place, and the people of the Gnostic religion who inhabited it, and who worship both the masculine and the feminine divine. We know that now is the rising of the feminine on the planet. What better time than now for the ideas that are held and the philosophies from this historical society to get out into the world. So if you do have any ideas of how to take this screenplay and move it from the printed page onto the big screen, Liz would really appreciate any brainstorming and any help you can give. I want to thank all the talented actors and the many young people who've taken time out of their lives this evening and the build up to it to do this, and who've supported the reading in many ways. And before I call upon a young woman who is going to talk to us a little bit about what the script has meant to her, I just want to tell you a couple of things. A couple of people have dropped out literally 5 minutes ago, so some of the cast have taken on a couple of additional roles quickly. So please bear with them as they read through the play. And for those who don't really know, a screenplay reading like this, the cast play many characters, there's no actual movement, they're just going to read the play, and the narrator will fill in some of the locations and settings and time to give you a sense of the place and feeling. So now I'd like to introduce and welcome Emma Pryor to say a few words.
Good evening. I just wanted to say that this was a very important story for me, as a woman, but it's also a very powerful story for both men and women. And I'd really like to see it made into a film, because I think it carries a message of truth that needs to reach the masses. And now Robert Francis Johnson will read a poem of his about the Black Madonna.
Yes, I actually live in the neighborhood, and on Polaco Street, when I found a artist studio, there was left behind from the Wise Fools a full-size painting of Our Lady of Guadalupe, down the block from a Church of Our Lady of Guadalupe. I'm a sculptor, I spent some time there. And I knew about the Black Madonna even before that and saw it as something that was important for us all. But particularly at that time I was needing healing. And so these words came to me, the Madonna of the Sacred Earth, the Black Madonna. Our Lady of Guadalupe has been following me around, whispering in my ear, Roberto, Roberto, it is time to put the pieces back together again, starting with women and men becoming friends, as if to heal the amnesia. And he who has ruled for over 2,000 years kneels down, says he is sorry, and begins to sing instead of trying to control, and begins to play and collaborate with she who gives birth to the world, day by day by day, creating light from the holy darkness. I love the dark mysteries of the night, where there are no experts to steal our sight. Thank you.
Grace and the Grail. Alexandria, Egypt, approximately 415 AD in daytime, at the library at Alexandria. Enter on Hypatia, in her 60s, premier scholar of Alexandria, lectures a group of scholars, men and women, seated in a circle under a tree.
According to Plato, the path of the warrior is the path of the awakening heart. The individual soul's quest for union with the divine, nothing less than a complete transformation of consciousness.
Blasphemy! Women shall not instruct men. St. Paul says, it is the natural order for women to be subservient unto men. There is no such thing as this individual soul. Plato and Socrates, all the pagans, shall burn in the fire of Christ's purification.
He throws books onto the huge bonfire that rages in front of the library. Monks cheer. The library at Alexandria is torched. Forward to 2005. Sunlit brown hills of New Mexico. Grace and Bernadette on horses gallop across arroyos, hills. Magenta cholla cactus sparkles in the sunlight. Cut to the UNM auditorium. Professor Bernadette Ortiz snaps off a video of a baby being born.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we birth babies in America. An easy birth when everything goes according to nature's plan. Next week, breech birth. How Western medicine deals with it and how native healers have dealt with it since ancient times. Keep an open mind. Maybe you'll learn something.
Admiring students surround Bernadette. Cut to Santa Fe. Old adobe building, Southwest Women's Clinic. A sea of angry, yelling protesters surround the porch. Signs are evident. Stop killing babies. Abortion is genocide, etc. On the porch, nervous medical personnel crack jokes with gallows humor and generally try to be brave for each other. Suzanne, Elena, Ariane. Cut to the examining room at the clinic. Continues.
Maria, the baby looks fine. You can go ahead and get dressed. I can't get any work done around here with all this racket.
Cut to the street. Enter Billy Joe Blakely in his 50s. He rallies the troops.
That's right! Let that wave of righteousness wash over you. God uses his sword of righteousness to strike down his enemies. Don't look at them as doctors and nurses, but murderers!
Bernadette arrives. She runs around the side and climbs up the porch. Grace gives her a hand up, hugs her.
How are you holding up, darling?
We're maintaining.
Don't they ever get tired of listening to their own BS?
He's building his political career on you. The next great white hope.
Oh, come on. The American people would never elect a bozo like him.
Sometimes you're so wise, and then you say something that reminds you you really are 19 years old.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Bernadette points at the sign that says, "Abortion is genocide."
That's a nice touch. Natives know the real meaning of genocide.
The other day at the Roundhouse, it was homosexuality is genocide. Seems to be the word of the day.
I bet they don't even know what it means.
Homosexuality?
Well, what does it mean?
They don't teach you about genocide in college these days?
Come on, you guys. What does it mean in this context?
A fancy way of saying baby killers, like mass murderers.
So now we're mass murderers? They don't really believe this stuff, do they, Mom?
They believe what the priest tells them to believe, right, Elena?
Absolutely.
Some deja vu for you, I suppose?
I was one of the sheeple back in the day. I'd have been out there with my righteous anger, following my priest, doing it for God.
So what happened?
It's a different world when all of a sudden you're the one looking at the future with a baby you can't afford, with a guy who gets off putting his fist in your face. I just snapped. Stopped letting people with an agenda tell me lies that weren't helping me make good choices. Told them to kiss my brown butt.
3 cars pull up from different directions.
Ariane, darling, I'd really like you to stay here on the porch.
Sorry, Mom. As long as they think we're mass murderers.
She's got a point, Grace.
You all ready?
Break to a moment of magic. Grace and Bernadette lock eyes, raise their arms from their sides slowly. Everything stops. The crowd parts like the Red Sea. Dragonflies swarm through the gap space. And the women's staff race through, reach the car first.
Lesbians, witches, baby killers. Grace Patterson, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide.
Inside the car, Claire and John, both 17, are terrified.
Look, if this is too much for you, we understand and we can reschedule.
You think it will be any better next week? I leave for college in September. I'm not dragging a child into my chaotic life. Being a student and working full-time, it's no way to grow up. Let's just do it.
We charge you with genocide.
Almost there. Hang on.
Officers, we're being assaulted over here. Could we get some protection, please?
Jack and Jeff, muscular, attractive, fresh from the gym, get out of their car.
Hey, what seems to be the problem, man?
Thank God. Impeccable timing, you guys.
They form a flying wedge with the guys on the outside. Get in the door, just barely. Cut to the inside of the clinic. Suzanne and Elena push furniture in front of the door, clearly a drill they're used to. Bernadette paces back and forth, keeping a wary eye on the crowd.
You okay? Did they hurt you?
It just came out of nowhere. So, how's UNM? Stressful? Fun?
I love my classes, but I miss being home with these guys. Good to be back.
Are you serious? With all this craziness going on around you?
Better than worrying about what's going on when I'm away.
Ariane, I was just wondering, do you ever think about the babies? You know, their little souls and everything?
Every day.
Really?
I think about them all the time. They talk to me.
No kidding. What do they tell you?
Nothing in words, more on a feeling level. I get a good feeling, like they're fine, like love. Like if they were in distress, I'd know it.
Thank you. I get the same thing. I thought it was crazy. I keep asking this baby what she wants to do, and she keeps saying, I'll be back. Is that weird?
What's weird about it? We were all dead before we were born, right? What I get is, if not this time, she'll be back later, as another baby.
What do you think, Dr. Ortiz?
Bernadette pauses on her reconnaissance mission.
Seems to me it's a much more fluid situation than we've been taught. Not so black and white. Maybe some spirits want the feeling of being in the womb before they go back into the cosmic soup. And come back another time as the first baby you actually are able to birth and bring up, for instance.
Rule number 1, no philosophical discussions with patients.
It's actually really helpful.
What do you think, John?
I'll let you all navigate these deep waters.
He's just here for me.
So are you the dad?
The dad is not involved.
What does Grace think about the babies?
She's not so much into the philosophy of it all.
I do my job because it needs to be done. Babies need to be born to mothers who want them. Otherwise, it's all just too tragic for the babies and the mothers, for everybody.
And the magic? Stopping the motion?
Something Bernadette and I have always been able to do. She's magic.
Cut to the outdoors cafe near St. Vincent's Hospital on a sunny day. Bernadette eats with Grace, Ariane, Suzanne, Elena. Richard rides up on a harlot wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
Great, the Marlboro Man.
Aloha, ladies. How's life?
Richard, Hawaiian man, how's life at St. Victim's?
Can't complain.
Underworked and overpaid as usual.
So how are the abortion wars going?
Life is a cabaret, dude. Mariachis serenade us daily. Night of the living dead out there.
Baby powder in the mail again today. At least we hope it was.
Richard sips his latte thoughtfully.
Maybe you all could shut down for a couple of weeks. Go to TRC, soak up some of that desert sunshine. Get in the hot springs. Chill out. Seriously, how can they miss you when you won't go away?
Oh, you're such a hoot, Richard.
And what do we say to all those silly women who get themselves knocked up in the meantime?
Right to choose, blah, blah, blah. Let them eat the morning after pill.
It's not so easy with pharmacists choosing whether or not they feel like filling prescriptions.
Richard, there really aren't a lot of choices for these women.
So who wants some of this killer chocolate cake?
So just skip the abortions. Do births for a while, till they go away. What's the problem? I think you all enjoy the drama.
Okay. As if we don't all prefer birthing babies to doing terminations.
Abortions, Grace. Some call it murder.
Geez, Richard, do you think we're mass murderers too? Want us dead too?
The law doesn't happen to agree with your church, Richard.
For now, wait till the Supremes get done with it. Of course, I don't want you dead, or Ariane. But Grace, seriously, why not let someone else do the dirty work? And look at you, her mother, exposing Ariane to this ugliness.
Thin ice, Richard.
It's my choice to be here.
Is it better to hide the realities of life from her? Better she should experience real life than live it in an ivory tower.
Life feels scary to a lot of people right now. Change is frightening.
But we don't all feel the need to restrict other people's freedom so we can feel safe.
First of all, I don't consider it dirty work. Freeing women to make choices about their lives and get out of poverty is just fine with me. If women don't want babies, don't make them have babies. Second, are you volunteering? No one else is stepping up and someone has to do it. Terminate these unwanted pregnancies. They're all afraid for their lives. Every doctor has seen enough purposely broken bones and burns and bruises on babies to break your heart. Babies murdered and stuffed into dumpsters. I choose to do something about it besides wring my hands like a wimp. Those babies need someone to fight for them.
Grace's cell phone rings.
Speaking of babies, this one wants to be born right now.
They really do need a safer place, you know. You could help. It would be great if the hospital could offer us one of those unused spaces you're all just sitting on.
Let me get back to you on that.
Cut to the Santa Fe Hospital. Grace jumps out of her car into the hot desert sun.
Where's that gurney?
Grace, Joan, and Joe disappear beyond folding doors.
Dr. Patterson, We need the insurance info.
Don't worry, they're not going anywhere for a while.
Natural birth, my ass. Why can't those old hippies just settle down and get an epidural like everyone else?
Come on, hippies in Armani, it's fun.
They get themselves into trouble with home births and come here so they can bail them out. And we're supposed to let them do whatever they want.
Hey, it's not like they don't pay through the nose or the privilege like everybody else around here.
Cut to the labor and delivery room. Joan screams at Joe.
Hey, okay, baby, just hang in there. Keep breathing, okay? Hey, it's okay.
Joan?
Joan?
Okay, I'm jumping from Grace to...
I'll do it, but
I'll meet Joan.
Don't you ever touch me again. I never want to go through this pain again, you motherfucker.
Hey, baby, just hang in there. Keep breathing. Breathe, okay?
Did you hear me? I'm the mother, and you're the fucker.
Joan, I need you to relax and remember that you love Joe and that you trust me.
She gives her an epidural shot.
This will take care of the pain. We're going to go in now and get your little girl.
Forward to an hour later, Grace holds up a milky pink baby girl.
Welcome to the wild world, Rachel. Wait till she breathes on her own, and then you can cut the cord. Thanks.
Insert flash of a computer screen. Grace's face in the crosshairs of a rifle, titled with Grace Patterson, MD, abortionist. Cut to Grace and Bernadette's old adobe home. Lilac bushes wind around the veranda, towering cotton trees. Afternoon sun shines onto tile floors, Navajo rugs, light-filled kitchen. Cut to Bernadette's office. Bernadette examines her cousin Rosie.
You're right, Rosie. About 14 weeks. I'm so sorry.
4 diaphragm babies. I ought to know by now. Why is God punishing me?
I don't think God is punishing you, Rosie. Quality control on diaphragms is not what it could be.
Look at me. I'm an old lady. Almost 50 years old. I'm all worn out. What will Eloy say? He'll be so mad.
Rosie, you did this all by yourself. Call the priest, Immaculate Conception.
Ah, very funny. Listen, I know you and Grace could do this stuff. I don't need no time to think it over. Just do it, okay?
You mean an abortion?
Yeah.
It's not that simple, Rosie. You and Eloy probably need to discuss this. I'll call the clinic and make an appointment. You can always cancel if you change your mind.
Bernie, listen, I can't go down there. Those people are from my church. And Eloy, I'm not discussing any of this with him. It's none of his business.
Rosie, is Eloy putting his hands on you?
No. But my life would not be worth living, trust me. Can't you just do it here? In the old days, curanderas had herbs, remember?
It's a surgical procedure, Rosie. I'm not set up for it here.
But you're a doctor. Can't you do something?
Bernadette walks to the window, looks outside at lilacs and fields.
There is something. The abortion pill from France. It's legal in the U.S., but the pharmacies here don't carry it. But you cannot tell anyone I gave it to you. Really, not your daughters, not your sisters, not anyone, not ever. I'll need you to swear on a Bible.
I get it, I promise. Why can't I get the prescription filled here?
Some pharmacists here are like your church members. These people think it's too easy for women to have sex and not have babies. They think there should be consequences.
What am I, a teenager? I need consequences for being with my own husband? Really?
Cut to the outside. Rosie smokes a cigarette. Bernadette puts an arm around her.
Mija, you saved me. How can I ever thank you?
Bernadette takes the cigarette out of Rosie's hand and grinds it into the ground with her boot heel.
Let me give you that prescription for the patch. You are too old to keep taking such chances with this.
Later, okay?
Rosie drives off like a bat out of hell, big smile on her face. Cut to the white SUV on the highway. A purple truck in the mirror, local guys tailgating. Grace puts her foot lightly on the brake. Brake lights flash. Truck screams by, several men, young, toasted.
Die, bitch! Jeez, do you have to aggravate them? I'm too young to die from road rage.
How do they know that? Am I wearing a sign?
About being a bitch or a dyke? They don't know anything. Just don't let it get to you. That's just what they call women these days, when they're not calling us hoes.
Cut to the home. Grace walks in and sniffs the air.
I can't believe you let someone smoke in here. Did you at least get one for me?
Grace washes the dishes. Dogs and cats wander.
It's kind of a delicate situation. Eloy is off the deep end these days with his church. Apparently she can't go to the clinic.
Uh-huh.
So I gave her some of the RU486 we brought back from France.
Holy shit, Bernadette. Now we're dispensing medicine without a license?
Sweetie, you aren't even involved. I bought it myself, over the counter in Paris.
I'm sure the medical board will be happy to let me off the hook in that case. In all fairness, I wish you had spoken to me first.
Bernadette turns around and looks her lover straight in the eye.
Grace, she's my cousin. She can't have another baby. Her body is exhausted. She can't go to the clinic with all her holy roller friends out there. In all fairness.
Maybe she needs new friends.
Cut to the shower. Bernadette steps in to join Grace.
Don't be afraid, Mammot. It's all going to be fine in the end.
I'm not afraid. There is no room for fear in my life.
Grace starts crying. Bernadette holds her.
Hey, it's all going to be okay.
Drama Club. Gay Santa Fe nightclub. Bernadette and Grace sit down with Jack and Jeff. Richard walks in.
Well, this is a surprise.
Even the straight boys can find this spot eventually.
Suzanne walks in and sits beside Richard. Ariane and Claire talk at the bar, then dance together.
Check this out.
Well, at least it might keep her out of the clinic for a while. Maybe it just takes the right woman.
So how are you feeling?
About?
Life during the fall of Rome. What do you think? The abortion.
I know it was the right thing for me. Speaking of the fall of Rome, I can't imagine bringing a child into the world right now.
You mean like the earth changes? You know, the Hopi prophecies, the Mayan prophecies, California sinking into the ocean rising.
If it's true, I don't know why I'm even going to college. It's all so unpredictable.
Hey, if all we have is the moment, we better enjoy it. Besides, I can't help believing something better is around the corner.
A starry New Mexico night sky. Richard and Suzanne stargaze from a ridge.
That was fun, Richard. Thanks.
She starts to go into the house, and he puts his arm around her, starts to kiss her.
You have a great mouth, Suzanne. I'm going to love kissing.
Sometimes I don't think you hear a word that comes out of it. Besides, you taste like an ashtray.
He starts to kiss her again. She pushes
I'm
him.
not your baby.
You know our bodies want each other.
Hey, I'm sorry. I guess I'm looking for more of like a meeting of the minds right now. I don't need someone in my life. Oh, I need someone in my life who gets what I do. Maybe even supports me for it. Otherwise, it's just too damn hard. Good night, Richard.
Richard leans on the car and stares at the moon, smoking a cigarette, then he crushes the cigarette out. Grace and Bernadette's home. Bernadette sits on a bench under lilacs on the porch, watching the stars. Grace brings wine.
Thanks for being there today.
Anytime, mi corazón.
Sorry I was so harsh before. Events overtake me, you know.
It's bigger than all of us. I think you're doing amazingly well.
She kisses Grace. A little high, they start to make love on the cushioned bench under the lilacs. Pokey things interrupt.
Ouch. Can we take this inside?
Nighttime, Grace and Bernadette's home. A candle glows under a painting of the Black Madonna, Guadalupe, on the mantel, and light shines on Grace's face as she looks up at it.
Goddess, Black Madonna, whoever you are, you know I'm not the praying type. I don't even know if I believe in you, but we need something to change here. I feel so stuck. My feet are in cement.
And behind her, a tapestry on the wall, lady in a walled garden with a unicorn. A shot catapults through the window. Glass shatters. Blood spatters on the floor. Grace falls with a thud. Bernadette comes into the room.
No!
Grace stares at the unicorn tapestry. Front yard. Paramedics carry Grace out on a stretcher. Ariane and Suzanne run over, put their arms around Bernadette, who is now standing like a stone next to the medic.
Sorry, ma'am. Immediate family only.
She is my family.
She elbows her way right past them, into the van. Van takes off. Bernadette leans down next to Grace, puts her arms around her and her face next to hers.
You're not going anywhere. You hear me? Stay with me, Grace.
Grace's eyes appear for a second to connect with her, close up on the unicorn tapestry. Image dissolves into another lifetime. Occitania, south of France, 13th century. A castle garden at daytime. Grace is now the Countess of Foix, the lady in the garden, a healer. Her expression peaceful. She reads a book in her lap. Flowers, dragonflies, butterflies. Richard, now a troubadour, still in colorful clothing, walks in, sets down his lute.
Deep peace of running wave to you, Countess. Deep peace of flowing air to you. Deep peace of quiet earth.
Deep peace of the shining stars to you, gentle troubadour. Deep peace of the gentle night. May the moon and stars pour their healing light on you. Deep peace of the light of the world to you.
She goes back to her book. An orange grove besides the river. A picnic on the grass, food and wine, happy, playful group. Miriam and Simon, Jewish merchants from Spain, along with Ali and Elena, Moorish traders from North Africa. A comfortable group who trust each other. Bernadette sips a glass of wine, plays chess with Ali. Grace's head is in Bernadette's lap. Richard picks up his lute, sings an erotic song of courtly love, about the goddess and the Grail and a man who fights a woman's love, then finally gives in and gets everything he wants in life.
Wise indeed is the man who surrenders to the woman in his life.
To the goddess in the woman.
And thereby finds the balance between the god and goddess within, the divine feminine.
Thus receiving everything he ever wanted. If they only knew.
Comte de Toulouse and Comte de Mur. Deep bows and courtesies are exchanged.
Troubadours can no longer sing this song in the north. The church says that it is about witchcraft, women who bewitch men.
Tell me, troubadour, you who are so well traveled, why are the French so afraid of women of power?
The women snicker.
We hear that in the north no one but the monks can read, not even the nobility. So all the power rests in the priest to interpret the word of God. How can people give up so much power to the church?
It is hard to imagine how Louis, our sweet cousin, can survive surrounded by such ignorance and superstition. How lonely for him.
That's Tad. Tad, you got switched.
These days?
All right, I'll read to Luce. These days, the church discourages all reading and writing except for the monks.
Other than Louis, the nobles prefer their war games. They strut around with their new weapons like roosters.
Sounds entertaining, but so idiotic.
With such tragic outcomes. And if the men cannot read, what about the women?
We Muslims and Jews educate our women privately. We're wise enough to keep this dangerous talent hidden.
Occitania is an island of joy in a sea of barbarians.
Be careful, countesses, that you do not lose your footing.
Joy is a sign of the presence of God, they say.
But rarely a sign of the church. What is the church's problem with joy, anyway? Spending their days whipping themselves, torturing the flesh of themselves and others. What is the appeal? When do these men have enough gold to make them happy?
They couple with minimal joy and have bizarre ideas about the delights of the flesh. No more sacredness, no worship of the divine yoni, only procreation. And women have no control over that anymore.
The church seems determined to make their version of Christianity into a kingdom of men. Their Christ without the goddess always seems pale and lost.
Women are only brood mares for their armies now.
They would take that over too, if they could figure out how.
You ladies would never survive up there. Pleasure for pleasure's sake is sinful. They would burn you as witches.
Why is everything about witches of late? Can friends talk of nothing else? Witches? Heretics?
There are people run in droves to get away from the Inquisitors and their angry God. What a hell on earth these men have created.
Lucky are we to live here in the south, safe from the Pope and his crazed warriors.
Murmurs of relieved assent all around.
No women, no love. Who chooses such a life?
There will be no peace throughout the land, so Christ and the goddess walk hand in hand.
At the outskirts of a small French town, a fine sleigh with an older woman, older man, and driver pulls up to a small, falling-down hovel. Beautiful young girl, shy Claire, age 16, appears in the doorway, wearing a simple traveling dress and a thin overcoat. She kisses her mother and sisters goodbye tearfully. Her father hurries her into the sleigh, where she is covered in fur robes. The family waves goodbye, and they depart. At the King of Louis, court of France, King Louis wanders, enjoys his courtiers, flirts with women. The Queen Blanche cavorts with her latest lover, the papal legate. Claire, in a revealing red velvet dress, shuffles in behind the couple, tries to hide. Her efforts are futile. Her beauty shines forth. The older woman pushes her forward.
Stand up straight. It's the king. Please him, and your family will be well fed all the winters of your lives.
Claire, looking terrified, is led to the front of the line. King Louis looks her up and down like a prize racehorse. He beams at her handlers, well pleased, and nods. At the palace grounds, nighttime, Louis swings on his horse and rides away. Forward to the royal bedroom at dawn, the first beams of morning peek into the room. The king is atop Claire. He emits one last groan and then rolls off her, begins to snore. She cries silently, slips from the room. In the kitchen, Claire passes through. She grabs a drumstick and continues on her way, outside to the palace grounds. Claire runs to the stables, stares at the horses. One starts to nick her. She silences it with a look. Mounting it, she rides away. Into the forest at dawn. Claire rides hard along a trail. Suddenly, she hears a wolf's howl and the answering howls of other wolves. In front of her is a downed horse, its rider pinned beneath. It's Louis. He stares at Claire and then past her. She turns around. It's the wolf. Louis looks back at Claire again, fear across his face. Claire grabs the drumstick from her sack and throws it to the wolf, who devours it.
She won't move. I think her leg is broken.
Her leg is fine.
Then why won't she get up?
Claire whispers something into the horse's ear. The horse looks at her, then rolls over, freeing Louis. Claire pulls at Louis.
No time to tarry.
They mount her horse together, gallop off into the forest. Louis's horse follows behind. In the forest, Claire and Louis walk the horses now, walking side by side.
Where were you going?
Anywhere but here.
Why? My father? But that was the arrangement. Don't worry. He will be dead soon enough.
Really?
Dysentery. Let's go back before they miss us.
He pulls a bejeweled ring from one finger and hands it to her.
Please, take this for what you have done for me.
It was my pleasure, sire.
In the countryside, at Claire's castle on a golden afternoon, Claire romps with her lady-in-waiting among piles of jewels, pearls, gold coins, rubies, and sapphires. A fine carriage pulls up. Old King Louis slowly gets out. Cut to the ancient library, now a monastery. Monks go through it, ancient manuscripts, throwing various ones into a huge pile in the corner. A young monk picks up a pile of books, Gospel of Thomas, Gospels of Mary Magdalene, throws them onto a huge bonfire.
Did you get them all?
The poor French. If only they knew that famous Bible that they idolize has been gutted like a fish.
Daytime in Occitania. French soldiers ride behind the king's banner, the fleur-de-lis, symbol of the feminine divine. Soldiers uproot the vineyards. They scythe the fields flat, then burn them. They slaughter cattle, horses, leave carcasses on the ground. Farm families flee in terror.
Kill them all! Let God sort them out!
In the evening, at the caves in southern France, Geoffroy, Knight Templar, formerly Jeff, with a fellow knight.
How goes the battle in the field?
The Pope's army is brutal. They leave nothing standing but a trail of dead peasants, animals, and raped women.
The Comte de Toulouse goes to Paris to do their penance, to appeal once more to the king.
We will see if the king can call off the Pope's dogs of war.
At the Cistercian monastery in the evening, a candlelit chapel, Saint Bernard de Clairvaux, skinny, consumptive-looking, intense monk in his 40s with a small group of Templars. Geoffroy and Jacques are among them. They kneel to a pedestal topped by a shroud bearing the image of a face. Saint Bernard speaks with passion in his eyes and bearing.
Knights of the Temple, your sacred duty is to honor the feminine divine in all her aspects. Protect the powerless. You must stand between women, children, the weak, the poor, and the forces of darkness, death, and destruction. Help to heal the human heart in all its brokenness.
He takes the shroud off. A skull is visible underneath. The skull morphs into Jesus' head.
If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth shall save you. What you leave unexplored in your soul shall destroy you.
At Claire's palace garden, Claire sits on a bench with her lady-in-waiting, lolling in the sunshine, enjoying the splendor of her garden. Men in arms ride up, swarm the garden.
You are accused of being a witch and guilty of treason against the king and the court.
But the king is my friend!
The king is dead, murdered by your magic.
They drag Claire away from her garden. At the court of Louis IX, King of France, at mealtime, young King Louis, in his early 20s, and his mother, Queen Blanche, eat dinner. The papal legate is never far from her side.
Louis, now that you are king, what is your plan for Occitania and the heretics?
I am here to serve France, not the Pope.
Really? Where is your sense of morality? Without the Pope, how long do you think we can hold the throne?
God instructs me to treat all beings with love in my art. This is my morality. There is no good outcome in this for the people, who will only see their sons come back bloodied and dead. And for what?
You go on and on about the people, but we both know that they're irrelevant.
The church loves a crusade. Rome gets the glory, the nobles get the spoils. Who will stand up for the people if not their king?
The palace gardens, young King Louis IX, walks in with his main man, Gaston.
But where was she taken?
We don't know.
Do I detect Blanche's fine hand at work?
At the palace, dinner. At the royal table, Blanche, the papal legate, Louis, Gaston share a table.
It appears we have a guest.
The papal legate introduces Thomas Aquinas, the rock star.
Your Highnesses, the pious thinker, the angelic doctor, the youngest man ever to join the Jamaican order, Thomas Aquinas.
Louis IX blanches.
We are honored to be in your presence, Your Eminence.
You honor me too greatly. I am but a poor wandering monk, an itinerant servant of God. The Pope sends his highest regards to the King and to your Highness.
To what do we grow? To what great good fortune do we owe this honor?
The Holy Father sends this urgent appeal. France must take up arms immediately against the heretics. Let us all now kneel and pray for an end to the pestilence upon your land. God, in your mercy, please deliver us from the heretics and their evil. Let the countryside run red with their blood. Amen.
Bon appetit. Tell me, Your Eminence, the great abbess Hildegard said that a man who errs in religious matters is still one of God's creatures. And Jesus himself preached love of one's enemies, did he not?
Louis, my boy, it is high time you stop listening to women. This world belongs to God. Men are put here to rule over women and nature for him.
Is this not a recent teaching?
It is a timeless teaching of the infallible Pope. The heretics elevate women, animals, and nature to the level of men. This is blasphemy.
Everyone shrinks palpably away in fear. Even Blanche and Louis move backwards. Papal legate is pleased. The Grand Hall, town of Moissac, 2 Dominican inquisitors preside over a group of beaten, starved, tortured Cathars, men and women, priests and priestesses, as well as common people, including Tissier, huddle, and listen. A Cathar priestess steps forward, bearing clear marks of a recent beating.
You inquisitors, you who delude yourselves that you advance the cause of Christ, you are ignorant as dumb animals, nay, worse, for you have malice in your hearts, whereas animals have only love in their soul.
Heresy! Animals have no soul.
If you only knew that yourself, if you only knew that you yourself carry within yourself the spark of the divine, God dwells within you.
Blasphemy.
Blasphemy. God is not inside of us. God is above us, in heaven.
Here.
Do you delude yourselves that you are the only one who hears the voice of God? On the contrary, God speaks to me clearly, speaks to all of us, if we listen.
There's an interruption, noises, objections.
And God tells me that the torture and murder of innocents is wrong.
Enough! You hang yourself by your own tongue. Cut out her tongue and burn them all.
At the Papal Library in the Vatican, Pope Gregory IX, in an ermine-colored cloak, gazes with a vaguely appreciative eye at the youngish, handsome papal legate.
So what says that notorious harborer of heretics, the Count of Toulouse, this time?
More complaints about the Inquisition as expected, Your Holiness. And I quote, these inquisitors do ignore all proper procedures and all rights of the accused. Suspects are interrogated behind closed doors, denied right to counsel, denied food and drink, and tortured with the vile devices from hell. Those summoned by the Inquisitors, are so terrified they denounce innocent persons.
Touching. He complains to me as if I truly care.
Continuing, the Dominicans spread a wave of terror and panic throughout the countryside. I beg your Holiness, Father, in the name of Jesus, put a stop to it all. Call them back to Rome and bid them leave our homeland in peace.
Tell the duplicitous Count that since he has been unwilling to suppress the heretics in his territory, we will do it for him, and we will exact a high price for our trouble.
The Toulouse town gates, the year 1235. Comte Raymond de Toulouse and his soldiers round up the Dominican inquisitors. Gnostic townspeople cheer behind them.
Kill them now! Get it over with!
Kill them now. If you show mercy, they will only be back.
The crowd roars its complaint as the Count chooses mercy. Dominicans lift their skirts, run for their lives. In the forests of Antioch at night, a group of prosperous, intelligent men, 20 Gnostic knights, merchants, peasants, and artisans meet in the forest.
We can no longer bear the invasion by these butchers. We must do the foul deed and do it now, and rid ourselves of them.
Avignon in 1242, the Inquisitors' bedchambers at night. The Inquisitors are asleep in their beds. The group bursts in and stabs them many times in their bed. A room in Grace's castle in the evening. Grace and Bernadette watch the fire in the fireplace, in horror as the scenes unfold in the fire in front of them. Medieval chapel of the Knights of the Temple of Solomon at night. The Knights Templar, Geoffroy and Jacques, in white Templar robes with large red cross, sit in meditation in the church pews. There's a Grail. The gold chalice appears to them in a shared vision. Flaming gold letters on the cup spell out, "Go to Occitania, warn the countesses." At night, in the court of Louis IX, King of France, Louis sits with Blanche on thrones, papal legate near her. Messenger from the Pope arrives.
Your Majesties, thugs at Avignonnet in Occitania have murdered a group of Dominican monks preaching God's word.
Who is responsible for this?
According to His Holiness, it was ordered by Raymond, Count of Toulouse.
We shall lay waste to every inch of Occitania. No man, no woman, no child shall be left standing.
Your Highness, the people hate the inquisitors. This is no surprise. Let us not kill them. Let us take the crops and their gold in punishment. In this way we may ease the burden of our own people.
The heretics must be wiped out, such is God's will. Only once in a lifetime comes the chance to do the battle for God.
Louis leaves the hall.
Damn the inquisitors. I wish the heretics had murdered them all.
Blanche and the papal legate exit together. They walk down a dark hall and find a corner where he bends her over, backwards, and they begin to have clothed animalistic sex. In the early morning forest, Geoffroy and Jacques gallop towards Foix. In the French dungeon, led by Gaston, armed men take Claire, beaten and dirty, out of the dungeon.
Where are you taking me? Back to Louis?
You cannot rejoin Louis at court. It is far too dangerous for you both. We are sending you south, away from all the madness. Stay away from him, for both of your sakes.
She gives the ring Louis had given her to Gaston.
Please, give Louis this for me, with my love.
In the French palace garden, Louis walks the gardens with Gaston. Louis holds the ring he had given Claire.
At least in the south, she will be safe. Outside the grasp of this Pope whose cold logic turns heart to stone.
Your Majesty, why not give the Pope what he wants? If you persist, he will have France excommunicated, or worse, the peasants will be desolate without their bearded Father God in the sky, to give them what little comfort they can find in their miserable lives.
So we must participate in this murder of a whole population in the south, in cold blood, to show the world that the church rules over all.
The beasts of war must be fed. You cannot stand alone against them. They will consume you and all of France.
God, forgive me for my weakness.
In Occitania, at the Foix Castle Garden, Geoffroy and Jacques join Grace and Bernadette in the garden.
What brings you here, Templar warriors?
The Grail brings us to you in your time of struggle.
Countesses, the war is now on the border of Foix.
They shall not touch us here. The Grail, she protects us.
She protects you by sending us to let you know that it is time to leave.
We are no threat to Rome. We have no huge churches to support, nor armies or priests. We are blessed with abundance, both spiritual and material. We share widely so that none need go without. Why cannot Rome, Christians, and Gnostics share the world?
It is what you represent. You are a threat to Rome by your very existence.
How can a whole population that has been here for thousands of years, many generations, just pick up and walk over the Pyrenees to Spain, or take a boat to England or Bulgaria for that matter? What about our old, our ill, our small children?
You can make your move now, or be overtaken by events. Not choosing is still a choice. Do you think your people will thank you for that?
In the castle gardens at Foix, Geoffroy and Jacques walk with Grace and Bernadette. Richard and Suzanne lean over a balustrade and look out at the marketplace.
The priest speaks.
They all look down to the crowded marketplace. Priests and priestesses in blue robes with an angelic air.
See around you all this treasure. None must go without. Why can the Romans not learn from an ancient civilization the beauty, the power of holding life with an open hand?
She holds her hands with open palms. The people fill them with gold.
Blessings come, blessings go. No need to hoard God's gifts. There's always enough for everyone when you trust the flow of the goddess's love.
In the castle garden, watching.
Can they go one day without rubbing Rome's nose in it?
It is a shame they cannot stop baiting the wild animals in our midst.
If it were not them, it would be something else. The church will use any excuse.
In the street, a Roman church bishop in scarlet and ermine rides in with his retinue, a small army. People shrink away. At the castle walls, high above the crowd, Richard puts a circle of cloth around his head like a crown and imitates him.
I am the Bishop of Toulouse, the Roman bishop. You all bow down to me now, or I'll send the inquisitors after you. They'll show you who's the true holy man around here.
Shh! Claire moves into view. She is on foot, looks slightly mad, desperate. The bishop sends his man who rides in her direction. She avoids him, ducks into the castle doorway to hide. Grace observes this, sends a servant downstairs.
Run! Protect her!
At the castle entrance, from Bernadette's point of view, a bishop's servant and Grace's servant struggle to grab Claire. Grace's servant shoves her behind him for protection.
Damn Romans cannot keep their hands off the children.
Grace arrives and places her body between Claire and the bishop.
Your Grace, this child is under the protection of my household. Can we help you in some way?
My household requires a maid. As she is spoken for, I withdraw my offer and bid you good day.
Richard, Suzanne, and Bernadette watch.
Uh-oh, she took away his new toy.
At ground level, Grace puts her arm around Claire, who turns to her, shaking and shivering in shock. She falls to the ground, kneeling in front of Grace.
Madame, you have saved me from the beasts. One more time and I would throw myself into the river.
Grace pulls up to face her.
I am so sorry for your child's child. What is your name?
Claire, I owe you my life, for what it's worth.
Anyone would have done the same.
How may I repay you? Allow me to serve you.
Stay the night, have a bath, and a meal. In the morning we shall decide.
At the castle foire, dinner, nighttime, the unicorn tapestry is on the wall. Grace, Bernadette, Geoffrey, and Jacques, Richard and Suzanne eat by candlelight, and a messenger comes in.
France has finally joined with the Pope's army. All of Christendom now unites in a crusade against Occitania.
It is true then, what we have seen in the fire, a crusade against fellow Christians? This is madness.
Sooner or later, the church must take possession of the Grail and destroy the legend of the Gnostics and the goddess forever.
It all comes down to the goddess. The time has come when they must stamp her out forever.
And where would he have us go? Oh, sorry. Over my dead body.
Well, I believe that is their thinking as well.
You Templars are wise. You have studied in the mystery schools. Why do you not challenge the Pope?
You speak as if you were all as if it were all just some big misunderstanding. As if, of course, everyone wants to live according to God's plan. The Pope and Inquisitors are a different breed. They do not play by your rules. To them, you are not Christians. You worship the goddess as well as Jesus. Therefore, you are heretics. All heretics are inhuman. All heretics deserve to die. It's logical.
And quite mad. The Pope and his church are out of control.
Louis loves us. I cannot believe that he will agree to this crusade.
He already has. He must put France's survival first.
If he refuses to comply, the Pope will excommunicate France.
If we could only see.
He kisses her. Grace and Bernadette are agog, as are the Templars.
How is it you are here?
I lost my way and they took me in and cared for me.
I see. I thank you.
Countess, for this kindness. Geoffroy, Jacques, what were you thinking? Bringing the countesses here. And in men's clothes, no less. There's a price on their beautiful heads, as you know.
The countesses are in charge. Our role is to guide and protect.
They seem to believe that you have a heart that can be touched.
Louis, your grace, cousin, we are happy to see you.
Countess, it was a mistake to come here. I am not sure even I can keep you from the Pope's army.
Be that as it may, Louis, when we first heard of this crusade, it seemed impossible to wipe out our whole country, our civilization.
How can the Pope be so cruel? More than that, how can you be involved in this affair?
The situation is complicated. Let's just say I was overpowered.
How could the King of France be overpowered? It's ridiculous.
Well, it may seem comic to you. To me, it is more along the line of a tragedy. Resistance became futile. When the church commands, I must obey.
The church. You give them too much power.
Be reasonable, Louis. Our soldiers are brave, but yours outnumber them 10 to 1. It is not a fair fight.
I agree.
Our people will be massacred if you continue to pursue this course of action.
I cannot argue any of these points, but we must each now play the role that the divine has set out for us.
I cannot believe the divine will is behind this.
Louis, we are prepared to offer you the most lucrative terms if you will only leave us alone.
It is too late for that. The Pope will not stop till he has destroyed Occitania. The world will forget she was ever existed, the land of the light. I'm so very sorry.
Grace sits, her head in her hands. Bernadette stands behind her.
We cannot accept this. How can this be what Jesus would have wanted?
Jesus has nothing to do with this. A crusade is a glorious theater production on a grand scale. What better than war to distract the masses from their pain? The church preaches that it is far better to die in a crusade and leave the sinful world. How can I reason with this? It is out of my hands.
You can't give up this easily. Louis, you are not a coward.
Not a coward, Grace. A realist. A quality you would do well to cultivate at this time. It is over. Be wise. Save your own skin.
He walks towards them, stretches his hands out to Grace and Bernadette. They kiss his hands, devastated. He hesitates, then hugs them.
Protect them well. They are precious to me and our world.
Please, allow me to have a word with Louis in private.
Grace hesitates. The Countess and Templars leave.
Claire, beautiful goddess.
He takes her in his arms and then points up to the ring on his finger. She cries out.
I tried to find you, but you had disappeared. How long have I wanted to do this? To hold you? Will you stay with me for this evening?
In Louis' tent at night, Louis and Claire talk in the sheets, lying back on pillows.
Louis, you need to know that they will not stop. They will not save themselves. They live for the people of Occitania, as you live for France.
Louis puts his arms around her, holds her to his chest.
And they live for the goddess. As much as my life is given to God, I know this.
In the tent at dawn, dawn breaks and Claire dresses in her Templar garb. Louis watches from the bed.
I thought my heart was dead until I saw you again. I know it is not fair to ask, but will you stay with me? An army camp is no place for a woman, but you make a very fetching lad, my lady.
I must be with the countesses, to protect them if I can, but we shall meet again.
In the church at Vézelay, Gabrielle leads Bernadette, Grace, and Claire into the vestibule of the Gnostic Church. There is a statue, a huge risen Christ above the entrance. Jesus turns his head and speaks to them sadly.
It was never about the death and the suffering. And this is how I wanted to be remembered, rising from the dead, as someone who showed you the way, showed what is possible in this life.
Grace and Bernadette stop at a huge stone statue of the Magdalene and light a candle.
Goddess, you who walk between the worlds, where are you?
Mary Magdalene appears before them in shadow in a corner.
I'm here with you. Be at peace.
Mary Magdalene, you hear us.
It's you who cannot hear me, as your thoughts are so loud with fear and confusion. Quiet your mind. What is in your hearts, dear ones?
Magdalene, we need your help. Rome is bent on destroying the people of the light, destroying the goddesses forever.
No man can destroy the goddess, but you will notice her absence.
But what have we done that you would be so angered to leave us?
Be patient. Try to see it from the witness state. Many large events are in store for your planet. Many opportunities for growth and for learning. The masculine force must have its day. Things will be upside down for a long while. Then they will right themselves.
But does God want our people to die? Our civilization left in ruins?
The divine plan is in action. You must accept it. Remember, Grace, it's not only this lifetime. There is a time to keep fighting and a time to surrender. A season of darkness is coming onto the earth. You must prepare for it. Eventually, women will remember to look inside themselves for guidance and for direction. They must find confidence in themselves for true leadership. Child, stop punishing yourself for what others have done to you. Learn to love and respect yourself as a woman. Stop looking to alliances with powerful men to save you. Life is precious. You are powerful. Save yourself and save your sisters.
But Magdalene, why must you leave us?
I will never leave you. Whenever you see a waterfall or a stream flowing, I am there. A beautiful sunset, I am there. The cleansing that will come with the end times, I am there. Know that your home is not of this world.
She points at the Pleiades in the night sky.
We come from the stars, and to the stars we shall return. When the time comes for the planet to awaken from its slumber, we will all meet again. The Christ and I will walk hand in hand. When life is back in balance, the Grail will shine forth her light and her abundance onto the world again.
But where shall we go? What shall we do?
Go to the well of the strong. Seek the guidance of the dark goddess.
In the Vézelay countryside at daytime, Grace and Bernadette stand naked to the waist, arms around each other, chest deep in a pool of water.
So now, a period of great change and destruction. I'm not sure I can bear it.
Would you stay here, my love? Let Gabrielle hide you in her nunnery?
Would you stay to save your own life? Where you go, I shall go, with you, as with Ruth and Naomi.
At the Vézelay church at midnight, two knights stand together at the altar in Templar regalia. Gabrielle marries them.
For these thy servants joining together in union of love and life, in perfect peace and perfect love, we pray to the Lord. With the authority vested in me as priestess of the light, I marry you together for all the days of your lives.
The two kiss. In the streets of Vézelay, the women walk through the streets of Vézelay.
What was that? Two men joined in marriage?
More heresy.
My sins look small in comparison.
When two souls love each other and wish to bind their lives together, God blesses their love.
Amazing. The French nobility do the same things behind closed doors, but they don't get married.
Once, not long ago, they did in the churches of Paris. Since early times have we performed these rituals in the church. It is only lately that we must hide.
No doubt we will hear more papal bull on the subject soon.
They all laugh. Claire, now accustomed to being shocked, is just bemused at this point.
Why do you and Grace not marry?
In our hearts, we are married.
Perhaps at a more peaceful time.
They stroll along the streets of the old town.
And where does your journey take you next?
To Chartres, to the Well of the Strong, then perhaps to the south.
May I accompany you as far as Carcassonne?
Carcassonne is only a prison now. Nothing survives there but misery.
The Magdalene sends me there.
On the road to Chartres during the day, Grace, Bernadette, Gabrielle, and Claire in women pilgrims' garb.
Claire, the magic comes from inside you. You must be a fit vessel to hold the energy.
First, you must learn to value yourself as a woman. And then you will find love in your heart for other women. Look inside. See what is good about you. See your gifts, your own abundance, your joy. Learn to give to the world from your woman's heart, the heart of compassion.
Remember how you felt when you held the Grail for the first time? The light streaming through your body, energizing it, raising your frequency? Breathe into that feeling and make it your own.
In the Chartres Cathedral at nighttime, Grace, Bernadette, Claire, Gabrielle, and the Templars on their horses gaze in awe at the soaring cathedral against the starry skies. Lit from within with a golden light, it shines with an unearthly beauty. The rose window shines with glistening candlelight.
Chartres, the veil between the worlds is very thin here.
Built on the holiest initiation spot of the ancient Druids, dedicated to the Mother Goddess. In Jerusalem, Templars at the Temple of King Solomon found the treasure of Solomon, which built Notre Dame Cathedral, dedicated to the goddess. No treasure was stolen from peasants for this endeavor.
They are let in a side door by a fellow Templar. The place is deserted. It's Grace's point of view from the rose window.
This beautiful place puts human beings standing upright in the pride of their humanity before the divine. We are neither meant to debase ourselves to other human beings, nor before God.
How could such a lofty structure be real? How can it not fall down?
The miracle of sacred geometry in action. Here, in the middle of the labyrinth, you will feel the pull of Mother Earth and Father Sky as they come together in your body.
Claire stands in the middle of the labyrinth. Currents of energy flow up into her body from the earth. Green light. In the cathedral basement, the women look down into a deep, dark hole where a stream rushes several hundred feet below them.
The Well of the Strong.
Bernadette raises her arms.
Inanna of the rushing waters, bless us with your grace, we ask you.
At the grotto shrine in front of the Black Madonna statue, Isis and Osiris, ancient, gnarled, carved out of one piece of wood, an old tree. She is a part of nature, clothed in purple and green. The statue comes to life.
Welcome, my daughters. How may I assist you at this time?
We thank you for seeing us, great goddess. We come to ask you on behalf of our people, what shall become of the people of the light?
Take heart. The mystery schools prepared you for this long ago. Let me remind you that each immortal soul lives on through many lifetimes. So it is with the light, the soul of your people. These are the times that have been foretold. The goddess shall go into a dark place for a long time. Men shall have complete dominion over the earth. Your home planet shall be brought to the verge of destruction. Women and children, the weak, the poor, and sick shall be overrun in the search for money and power. Wars shall rage everywhere. Rape and murder shall be a commonplace reality for countless thousands of innocents. The goddess will put up with this for so long. Then, that will be the end of it. Life on the earth will change. When the time is right, my sister Kali will come, the destroyer of the ego, the destroyer of false consciousness. Kali Yuga, the age of Kali, will be upon us. The destruction of all that is false. Destruction, and in the end, rebirth. And Pele shall come. She will shake the earth and her inhabitants to their foundations. If those foundations be not built on solid ground, they will be destroyed. She shall send great tides of water. The winds shall blow. Storms shall rage, sweeping across the plains and cracking the marble deep underground. Many will be terrorized. Nature will crack the crystallized structure of old thinking, blow away certainties and traditions, blow them away like dust. Fires of purification shall rage in the forest. The earth shall reclaim the palaces of man's vanity. The ice shall melt. The waters rise and swallow islands. Man's systems of money and property, of hoarding and control over others, systems that block so many from enjoying this life with all of its blessings, all these things shall be ground into nothingness. All structures that block the flow of life and love shall be destroyed. All that man has built shall be destroyed unless it is righteous. All that is out of the balance shall be dealt with a heavy hand. This will continue until such time as man stops making war on his neighbors. At some point, humans will learn to listen to the voice of the goddess once again. Those who hold on to old ways of thinking, who seek dominance over other humans and nature, they will have a bad time of it. Those who surrender, those who ask for help, will be shown where to go, what to do. At the end of time of man, as the earth changes, we will survey the damage and how to proceed. The light can never be destroyed. Balance shall return to the garden. The course of events is already written. It only remains for you to play your parts. We in the other worlds are mindful of your sacrifice. We see the suffering of your people. Divine justice always prevails in the end. If justice has not yet prevailed, then it is not yet the end.
And where shall we go now? What shall we do?
Listen to the voice inside. Learn to trust it. Continue to build your trust in the divine. You will see only the next step, not the goal.
And what now?
Find Esclamonde in the caves at Tawakalskol. She will guide you on your way.
And we'll take a brief intermission break at this point. Reflective light pierces a chink of clear glass in the stained glass window and goes directly onto the stone floor.
Only on the solstice day, the longest day of the year, the day of the sun god, does the sun come through at this precise angle.
All Gnostics celebrate this day, our high holiday, when Jesus, the sun god, returns in a blaze of glory, bringing his light down into the earth, dispelling the darkness.
The light goes into the spot on the floor, then travels up their bodies as well. At the Templar Castle in Rennes-le-Château in France, daytime, the Templar fortress overlooking rich lands under cultivation, flowers bloom everywhere, gardens brim with produce. At the Templar fortress in the great hall at dinner time, rich, austere surroundings, simple, abundant food, fresh fruits, vegetables abound, porks, sides of beef. Templars lead the women into crowded dining hall. Grace, Bernadette, and Gabrielle shrink at the sight of meat. The emissary comes over to them.
The Grand Master bids me make you welcome. He wishes you to know that we are presently enduring a visit from the Holy Father's emissary.
Okay, ladies, eat your meat, and please appear to enjoy it. The stakes are high.
Aye.
Any eyes are upon us.
They eat in silence. Grace and Bernadette eat their meat, trying not to retch.
Oh.
Claire eats ravenously. Brother Francis in Dominican Guard comes over to check them out.
Good evening, Brother Francis. I hope you are enjoying the Templar meal. It does not compare with the usual fare at the Vatican.
We Dominicans are interested only in the spirit, not the transient pleasures of flesh.
Oh.
We have not Rome's fine cooks, but we do our best with simple fare.
Aye. And who are your dinner companions?
Oh, pilgrims under a vow of silence. Simple women from the merchant class. We take them to El Camino de Santiago de Compostela for the pilgrimage to Catalan.
I'm happy to see there are no heretics among you.
Oh.
Everywhere they run like rabbits to escape God's wrath, but we shall catch them all, the vermin. Heretics, vegetarians, men who lie with men, women who lie with women. Vile abominations in the eyes of our Lord. No better than lying with animals.
We shall keep a sharp eye out for them, Your Grace. You may be well assured.
The women and Templars nod at him, and he leaves.
Sanctimonious bastard.
Simple women, are we?
Hunting our people down with the swine.
Careful.
The monk looks back. All chew peacefully, eyes on their food.
Too close.
At the Templar estate, on the full moon, Grandmaster says goodbye to Grace, Bernadette, Gabrielle, Claire, Jacques, Geoffrey, who are all exhausted, mounted, ready to leave.
A shame to leave without a full night's sleep.
It's better for all this way.
Safe journey, dear ones.
He kisses Geoffrey and Jacques on the mouth, bows to the women. They ride off. At a cave in Tarascon in the Ariège, Esclarmonde, the older noblewoman, priestess in navy robes, talks to a group of priests and priestesses. Grace and Bernadette rush over to Esclarmonde, who hugs them. Esclarmonde indicates the full moon, which appears as a woman in a white chariot, pulled by winged horses across the sky.
Celine, see how she flies across the night sky, bringing you back to me. We feared you were lost, and so many have been lost now in the dungeons of Carcassonne.
We were on the pilgrimage in the north, in the wilds of France.
Did you see Louise?
We did. He is a broken man.
So sad what they have done to him. Who are your companions?
Gabrielle gets on her knees in front of Esclarmonde.
I am Gabrielle, a priestess from Vézelay, journeying to Carcassonne.
Ah, Carcassonne, the prison city, where the inquisitors ply their trade on unlucky Cathar martyrs.
Would you do me the honor of blessing me with the consolamentum?
Esclarmonde pulls her close and scans her with a fierce glance.
You are a brave soul. You may indeed receive the sacrament today. And who is this little one?
I am Claire, servant to the countesses.
Claire is our assistant, our priestess in training.
Very good. And where is our young?
In Spain with the king, safe. She was fostered with Louis, but he sent her down to Catalan when all this madness started.
And did you receive the guidance you sought from the Black Madonna?
She told us to surrender, to accept our fate.
She sends us back to you.
Well then, you must all go together to Carcassonne, to our friends and companions from happier days. Help them make the transition with the consolamentum. Ease their suffering, make smooth their way to the light. Your brother Templar guide the your brother Templars guide the dungeons. It's a dangerous game playing both sides.
We do what we must, madam, to make our way in the world gone mad, and perhaps help a few along the way.
Jacques and Geoffrey smile and bow to Esclarmonde, then move away.
Carcassonne, that is where I would go if my sons would let me. They tell me I am too old now, imagine.
Where will you go now, madame?
I go with all the elders to the only refuge left to us, the Grail castle at Montségur, the heart of our people. They will never take it. Too rugged and primitive, thank goodness.
At the forest outside the walls of Carcassonne, Grace and the other women sit on their horses. Soldiers mass in the town.
Stay behind, Claire. The Templars will take care of you. It's far too dangerous.
I belong with you, madame. My place is by your side.
Aren't you afraid? Grace, she's only a child.
I am afraid of the soldiers, but I must go with you.
Anyone who is not afraid is foolish. If you must come, then by all means, keep your head. Follow our lead.
We can get you in, but getting you out will be a challenge.
Do you want to reconsider?
We must do as we are charged.
You must disappear in there. If you are caught, they will know you are Cathars. They will torture you. If they figure out who you are, it will not be very pretty.
The Inquisitors have made of torture a whole new art form. Tonight is our best shot. You must be out before the cock crows.
Cathars, the perfect ones, they call us. How ironic. I feel so small and human right now. So vulnerable.
At the doorway to a prison, Templars, Geoffroy, and Jacques have a quick exchange with Templar guards outside the prison. The women are led inside to the jail. In the dark dungeon, Grace, Bernadette, Gabrielle, and Claire in pilgrim's garb walk down dark hallways, shuddering, hearing screams of the tortured and moans of the wounded and hopeless. They carry buckets, rags, ointments. Two soldiers lead them into a huge cell crowded with miserable, dying human beings. Claire starts to cry. Gabrielle shushes her arm around her.
Shh, think of their pain. Is not your own puny in comparison?
What do you know about my pain?
Suzanne and Richard lie together in a heap, bent and broken from torture like rag dolls in a corner.
It is you! Dear ones, how did this happen?
She immediately starts washing his wounds.
They caught up with us at the Spanish border. We were so close.
And the others? Elena? Ali, Miriam, and Simon?
Flashback to the Catalan hillside in the Pyrenees. French soldiers' swords pierce Elena. Ali tries to protect her, is stabbed in turn. Miriam and Simon are dragged away, stabbed, left for dead. Richard's loot and tarot cards spill on the ground as he and Suzanne are dragged away. Back at the prison.
Into the light.
Why did they spare you?
They asked us about you and Bernadette.
They tortured you to find us?
Grace cries. And with Bernadette, she washes Suzanne's body, puts salve on it, while Claire washes Richard. Suzanne comes back to consciousness and fights her.
No, I'm done with the suffering of this life. Better to help me go into the light.
Damn the monsters who did this to you!
Anger gives them strength, and then they win. Give me the consolamentum. I would be with the Holy Spirit.
She gestures to the rest of the prisoners.
Give it to us, the last rites.
Grace spreads her hand out and beams light into Suzanne and Richard. The white light moves from Grace to Suzanne and then to Richard as it shines over the three of them in the vast cell. Richard and Suzanne die peacefully in each other's arms. Gabrielle and Bernadette turn around and send light from their hands into the dead and dying. Hundreds of people, yellow butterflies in the light. Later, Grace, Bernadette, Gabrielle, and Claire meet up from all four corners.
Dawn is on her way.
There is no sign of the Templars. A new, bedraggled woman prisoner is thrown into the cell. She looks around and spots Grace.
Grace of what?
She hands Grace a note.
The time is not right. We'll get you out. Keep faith.
Hide yourselves well.
Grace rips the note into tiny little pieces. Claire falls apart, weeping and moaning.
Claire, get a hold of yourself. We cannot afford the attention of the guards. Grace, especially you.
Claire, let's go inside ourselves, to that place where we are free. Bring back that feeling now.
Go inside yourself, to that place where you are free, where no man has control over you. Focus on that quiet place. Ask for help. Trust the divine. Breathe.
At the cell, in the dead of night, Claire wanders out into the corridor. Soldier lets her out. He hands her a glass of wine.
Would you like it the way old King Louis liked it?
Really? This is what you did for the king?
The jailer is strung up, naked, spread eagle. We see him from the back. Claire is whipping him sensuously. The keys peek out from her pocket. Claire wakes up Grace, Bernadette, Gabrielle. She dangles the keys in front of them.
Time to go.
You go on. I'll stay here.
You must come with us. You will die if you stay here.
Leave her be.
They scurry out as Claire's jailer friend looks on, strung up, gag in his mouth. The Templars are near the door.
How did this happen? What have you done?
Please do not be angry with me. I cannot bear it.
She rides off. Grace and Bernadette ride off together.
Grace, she saved our lives. You forget what it is like to live without faith or hope.
Difficult for someone so young to be patient and to trust, with so much at stake.
Where shall we go next?
To the only place left to go.
A winter evening at the castle of Louis IX. Blanche luxuriates in the window seat, gazing out at her domain with the papal legate. A brainstorm hits her.
Enough with this war dragging on and on. We must go to Montségur. Sever the dragon at its head.
At Montségur village in 1244, a winter evening, there is snow on the ground. A knight rides up.
Good evening, Countess. Have you seen your daughter?
Ariane is in Spain with her brothers.
At Montségur village in the evening, Grace, Bernadette, Comte de Mirepoix, Jacques and Geoffroy, Grace, the men-at-arms all watch in dismay as the French set up a piece of heavy artillery, now within striking distance of the castle. The bombardment begins. Montségur mountain in the evening. The knights and the women climb up the perilous precipices. Grace's tunic is caught on a bramble.
Merde!
French soldiers come upon them quickly. Geoffroy grabs for Claire and Bernadette. Jacques swings his sword at the first sentry. Second sentry gets a hold of Grace, pulls off her headpiece.
What's this? Lift your skirt, bitch!
Claire grabs the second sentry's head from behind. As Bernadette comes out of nowhere, takes off his head with her sword. She looks back at Claire, like, teamwork! Claire looks at Bernadette in total admiration. She is a fury in action. She takes them up the mountain, flying ahead. Cut to Montségur inner fortress in the evening, and snow is on the ramparts. It is beautiful. Geoffroy, Jacques, Grace, Bernadette, and Claire emerge from the underground passageway. Grace puts her arm around Bernadette. Bernadette looks stronger and energized with spirit, an Amazon. Claire gazes at her in awe.
You were amazing.
I do not take life lightly, but I would do it again in a heartbeat.
She squeezes Grace's hand, and Esclairmonde joins them.
Have you come to... Have you come to join us then, in our final hour?
We are here, Esclairmonde.
And where is your friend, the nun?
She stayed at Carcassonne.
As good a place to die as this one. It's over. Our knights negotiate with the French as we speak. But you must see Ariane.
She gestures to Claire, who is talking with Ariane. They come running.
Ariane?
She holds her daughter tight, then pushes her away, holds her at arm's length, staring into her eyes.
It gave me such peace to know that you were safe in Spain.
I'm sorry, Madame. The Count came to us. He spoke about what was happening. My guidance told me to return with him.
To March 15th, in 1244, at the castle courtyard of Montsegur, the French army rides in with trumpets blaring. Banners bear the fleur-de-lis. A messenger unrolls proclamation with much flair and begins to read.
The Cathar nation is now under the power of the Holy Roman Empire. At first light, those who wish may convert to Christianity, repudiate the heretic teachings, and live. Those who cling to the unholy heretical faith shall burn at dawn. This is the will of His Holiness, the Pope.
The soldiers build the funeral pyre with fuel underneath.
So now we must choose between their so-called church and death.
I am proud of the Gnostic Church, proud to worship the goddess, happy to burn for her.
Ariane, your destiny is not to burn.
Why not? I am of the light as you are.
You are a carrier of the Grail. You cannot be taken by the church. The Templars will take you down the mountain, keep you safe until it is time to return.
The Grail descends through the female line. Your children are the true descendants of the line of Jesus and the Magdalene.
Ariane looks to Grace for confirmation of this, and Grace nods.
One day the world will need their help.
In darkest night at Montsegur Castle at the walls, the same date, Ariane and a few noble women and children prepare to descend the steep cliffs.
Maman, won't you please come with us?
Grace holds her for the last time. Bernadette has an arm around Claire.
You could still go with them to Catalan. No shame in it. No need for all to burn.
And how would they feel, my people, to see that I and my family had escaped and left them to the fire? But you, Bernadette, you should go.
My place is with you and with our people. I cannot abandon them.
Then I must stay as well.
Wherever you go, my love is there with you. Never forget this. Go quickly now, before the soldiers hear us. Before I change my mind.
Bernadette embraces Grace from behind. Jacques hugs Bernadette and Grace to him.
Ladies, if the point of all life is to die well, consciously, and with the love of God, then yours is a fine death indeed.
Geoffroy kisses Bernadette and Grace goodbye, tearful.
Will you watch for us here on earth, from your vantage point in the heavens?
We shall watch over you.
Montsegur Castle in the courtyard, the next day at dawn. King Louis, wretched, sleepless, full of doubt, stands beside the papal legate and Aquinas. They watch hundreds of people waiting to file into the stockade. The stockade fires are lit. Claire hugs Grace and Bernadette.
I know I was not an easy student for you.
You are a high priestess. We are honored to have known you.
Bernadette holds Claire, looks her in the eyes with a strong look of love. Dragonflies fly all around.
We have been true to each other and to the light. Tell all to breathe out and inhale deeply of the smoke. Fill the lungs with the smoke. As the lungs collapse, death comes quickly. Remember, your immortal soul goes on forever and ever. We shall all meet again in better days.
The French soldiers tie their hands behind them and push them towards the stockade. 250 men and women march singing a Cathar hymn into the fire, and Louis watches.
As no one told these Cathar zealots that if they renounce their faith, they shall be spared?
They have been told, Your Grace.
Surely they are not all going to walk into the fire? Damn the Cathars. They are truly mad.
Your Highness cannot waver now.
Now all France will be one pure Christian country under a holy Christian king. You shall be Saint Louis.
Sainthood cannot atone for this crime against the light.
He stalks away, enraged, beaten. At the front of the stockade, Louis watches, anguished, as Esclarmonde, Grace, Claire, and Bernadette walk with the others down the path to the flaming stockade, singing.
Claire! There is no need for this!
Claire gives him one long last look, loving look. Claire, with Grace and Bernadette, walks into the fire. Grace, Bernadette, and Claire look at each other, raise their arms, send the light of the consolamentum into Louis's body, the ultimate act of compassion. Forward to the present day, the hospital boardroom, the board meeting where Richard and a group of older board members are meeting. Bernadette wheels Grace in a wheelchair.
Grace, welcome back. It's so good to see you out and about. There are all kinds of rumors.
They're all true. Seems most people don't survive their close encounters with the army of God.
Of course, we are all hoping you'll say nice things about us when you do your interview.
The whole town has been so incredibly generous to us. We are so very grateful. It is our fervent hope that you will rebuild the women's clinic the protesters torched.
Grace and Bernadette leave.
Many in the community have expressed the wish that the medical community would offer the women's clinic a safe haven here in the hospital.
It would be the right thing to do.
Let's not get too carried away here. What about the other patients and their families?
Let's face it, what happens to women affects children and families deeply. Maybe it's time to support these doctors who stand up for women.
I agree. The clinic personnel have shown great courage.
As chairman of the board, I understand the emotional appeal, but each of you needs to seriously ask yourselves, can we justify exposing our patients to increased threats and unlawful behavior?
Not standing up for bullies just doesn't seem right. Aren't we rewarding these perps for their bad behavior?
If the clinic is in the hospital, the town will take steps to protect the institution.
We don't really want to be known as an uncaring community, do we? I move that we incorporate the women's clinic as a separate and autonomous wing of the hospital immediately.
Call the question.
In Santa Fe, at an outside pool, Richard and Suzanne lounge at one end of the long pool. She leans against him. He leans against the diving board, brushing her hair with his fingers. A feast of sensuality.
So they went for it? Amazing. What are you, some kind of shaman? What's your secret? Ecstasy in the water pitcher?
We were all on the same page, but one. He finally gave up when he could read the smoke signals. I'd love to take credit, but it was a group thing.
I can't thank you enough. It's a miracle.
I bet you could find a way.
He looks at her under big lashes. She looks at him with admiration and snuggles into his arms. Cut to the Santa Fe Mountains at sunset. Bernadette and Grace ride horses, looking at the beautiful country spread out below them. Grace's face is quieter, more reflective.
Should we take a break? Are you okay?
I'm fine. Happy to see your beautiful face. So happy to be on a horse again. I don't even mind that I can't gallop yet. Looks like a fire happened over there. The ground is totally scorched.
Yeah, brush fire got out of control, burned everything in sight.
Jeez.
But look, you can already see the new growth coming in. I had some dreams while you were gone. Nightmares, actually. Sandstone castles, women with long white hair, a huge fire, wars, death, and destruction, a lot of crazy religious stuff.
Sounds familiar.
Bernadette looks up at her questioningly, and Grace smiles and puts her arm around Bernadette.
It all comes back in bits and pieces. Well, okay, we went on a pilgrimage, tried to stop a holy war, but it didn't work. You were my lover then, too. You were very brave. Even killed a man to save my life.
Me? I can hardly believe that. I'm such a peace-loving person.
At the Galisteo ruins in late afternoon, they walk horses.
It was all about questioning authority and listening to your inner voice.
And since when did you ever listen to anyone else about anything?
I listened to Isis and Mary Magdalene. They were pretty loud. There was no ignoring them.
So you saw the goddess yourself? And you never even believed in her before this? Doesn't seem fair somehow.
She had plenty to say, mostly about earth changes.
So is the plan to just keep on pounding the earth with these disasters? Waiting for us to say uncle? Doesn't seem very merciful to me.
Well, they are tired of waiting for us to get it together. Women need to step forward, take leadership. That was always the plan.
But what are they waiting for?
The downside of free will. They won't intervene until we ask.
But what is the point then? What are we supposed to be doing in this life?
Looking inside, right livelihood, doing the right thing for all the people, the animals, the ocean, the planet. It's all about the heart, the feminine divine. It's about love, balancing the heart and the mind. The masculine and the feminine need to be together.
And what about you and me? The feminine and the feminine.
We're just fine. It's the masculine and the feminine inside each of us intertwining. Dante had it right, the divine comedy.
Mm-hmm. Very funny. This is a little strange coming from you, the atheist.
Grace pulls her closer, pulls her down to the ground onto a star quilt.
You were more comfortable when I was a miserable cynic?
At least I knew who I was talking to.
They kiss.
Do you remember me now?
At a high, rocky outcropping, Jesus and Mary Magdalene come out of a spaceship onto the land by Galisteo. They are holding hands, smiling, walking towards Bernadette and Grace.
Thank you all for coming, and I mostly want to thank the incredible actors that put so much time and energy into this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys were really wonderful. Please watch for this on YouTube under Grace and the Grail.
Use a wide-angle lens for me.
You needed a wide-angle lens for that group.
Ah.
You did a great job. That's wonderful. It was very effective.
Yeah, it worked well.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, I didn't know how I would do, given that I only want to like them to see it either on the page or to see it on the screen.
How was it?
Excuse me, do you want to interview?
Do I mind being interviewed?
Yeah, just for a minute.
Oh, really?
You want to be interviewed?
No.
Okay. Can you tell me, what do you think of your role and the story? What do you think of the story?
It was a very interesting story. It brought in, I kept thinking about Mary Magdalene and the story of Magdalene, the Gospel of Magdalene, and a very definite slant toward the feminine, you know. So I think it was great. It was a good story. And it'd be nice to see it.
Great.
And we're happy to have this production here. It's nice. Thank you.
Got a good camera phone.
Action.
My name is Diana Salazar, and I was playing Claire. And I think this is an amazing story, and I really hope and really wish that this becomes a big, huge production and it goes into the screens and stuff. It's really cool, and Liz is wonderful, and she put a lot of work into the script and everything. So yeah.
Half
Great. Thank you.
All right.
Right there, hurry.
Okay, action.
Hello, yes, my name is Wanda Ross Padilla.
I was honored to play the role of Isis, one of the favorite goddesses. This story meant so much to me personally. I was in Egypt. I toured her temple. I had the honor of playing the role of Isis on a cruise ship. And the places in Spain and France, I've been there. So this play has had so much meaning for me. I truly enjoyed it. I think Liz is a genius for putting it together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
My name is John Mead, and I played 3 roles. I played John, who was a 17-year-old boy and knocked up his girlfriend. And I played Richard, who's a doctor and sometimes a little full of himself. And I played Gaston, who is the head guard, the lead man in King Louis' staff. And I think it's a very appropriate timing for this sort of show about bringing back the divine feminine, honoring the feminine in our world.
No, I didn't say no.
And it would be great if it's actually made into a
I can't even remember
film.
how I know Liz. I think we started off kind of like Facebook friends and then actually
Thank you.
met.
Action.
So I'm Kate Marks, and I played Rosie. I played a bunch of different priestess roles. That's mainly it. And I really related to actually both characters. Rosie trying to have an abortion when she's old and not ready to have any more kids. And that's still an issue today with abortion clinics and all the people that still are fighting. And the priestess roles I also resonate a lot with. I've always felt a connection to the time of the Cathars and to the goddess, and feel like I was there. And I was actually given the name Catharin, and so somehow I feel a resonance with that. I think it's a good piece of writing, and it's a good start on a very important theme.